Bearcat Bounce Podcast, back at it again. Wait, hold up.
Whoa.
Bearcat Bounce Podcast, presented by Danco Transmissions. Back at it again.
There we
It's a
go.
mouthful. I love it.
There we go. You want me to send you the ad read? You want me to do the ad read here for Danco Transmission? I'll start.
All right.
And then I'll send it to you, Brent. And from here on out, you can be the official voice of Danco Transmission. Danco Transmission, an auto care family owned since 1970 in Fairfield near Jungle Gyms. Proud to support the Bearcats and the BBP. Mention the BBP, $10 off any oil change or service. Danco Transmission.
Whoa.
Love it.
Well, as
We're
always,
big time now.
as always, though, I am Brent Young. Aaron, Chad, Danco Transmissions, how are we?
Feel like we're doing really well. If we got a sponsor, we got a YouTube page, we got Chad firing on all cylinders again, and it's the end of the season. So I can only just imagine what's going to happen going into basketball season as that gets running at full cylinders with Chad running at full cylinders. Let's go to the moon.
Oh, to the moon. Chad, how are we?
Not great, Bob.
I mean, do we dive
Like-
right into it or do we?
What choice do we have? Like 5 minutes before the show started.
We're going to
biggest
talk
news.
about, we're going to break down the ECU game, talk about the excitement of heading back to the third straight AAC Championship game. But our good buddy, friend of the Bearcat Journal, Pete Thamel, decided he wanted to detour this for a second. It doesn't have anything to do with the Bearcats. So
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. LSU is expecting to hire Notre Dame's Brian Kelly as the school's next head coach. An announcement could come as early as tomorrow. This is off the heels of that kind of mysterious Hail Mary tweet from Godfrey, who's a big LSU fan, if you will, has connections to there.
His wife's an LSU alum.
His wife's an LSU alum. That came yesterday. Now today, we hear this about Pete Thamel, which means that's gospel. We'll keep it on the Catholic trend. That's gospel when Pete
Fair
Thamel
enough.
tweets it out. LSU expected to hire Notre Dame's Brian Kelly as the school's next head coach. And I guess the interesting timing in Godfrey's tweet, as he mentioned, is the fact that Notre Dame is very much still in the running for that final playoff spot.
That's crazy. That's the crazy part to me. Like, you're not out. You're number 5.
You very well could get into the playoff. All you need is an Alabama loss and then a loss by Oklahoma State, and you're the 4th seed. It's an interesting dynamic being tossed into the mix. But in the long run, the trickling of effects, if you will, that now will open up South Bend wide open, just like it was how many ever years ago.
Brent, with
12.
both those losses, you could be a 3 seed, not a 4 seed.
Well, no, it would be Cincinnati. Cincinnati would be the 3 seed. Notre Dame at the 4.
Okay, gotcha.
Michigan at the 2 if they beat Iowa. But still,
So there's so many moving pieces, right?
there is. But it's the timing. Obviously, now is just tossed out the window because, I mean, if athletic directors are somehow buying 2 houses in Texas and then buying a $6 million house in Los Angeles and a private jet for the family to use, all in the process of giving a coach a brand new contract as well. I think anything goes at this point when it comes to these big name schools really going after the coach that they want and doing all they can to make it happen. But that means that South Bend, Notre Dame, wide open job. They do have a beautiful young defensive coordinator that is just bringing 5 stars left and right to South Bend. His name is Marcus Freeman. I'm sure he'll be on the short list of candidates. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other candidates, but I'm going to open up the door and just let you two chime in your thoughts on exactly how this feels, because obviously that was one of the two buzzwords, one of the if this job opens up, keep your ears perked ordeals. Kind of what are your guys' thoughts? Because right now, Pete Thamel is saying it's gospel. Brian Kelly goes from Grand Valley State to Central Michigan to Cincinnati to Notre Dame down to the Bayou. I'm pretty sure he's not going to be saying go Tigers, but he's heading on down south to LSU. Guys, thoughts?
Well, first off, I know that Pete Thamel's reporting it, but until it's actually done and done, I don't believe anything, because I mean, people even just last year, especially with LSU, were reporting that Marcus Freeman was a done deal until it wasn't.
You know, who wasn't reporting that?
I know it wasn't Pete Thamel, and I understand that.
It wasn't Pete Thamel.
I understand, but again, I mean, crazier things have happened. Let's just I'm pumping the brakes. I'm not telling you two that you have to pump the brakes, but I'm pumping the brakes until it's done. That all said,
if Pete Thamel says it, it's happened.
Let's hope that Marcus Freeman, with his recruiting, with his just general demeanor, has impressed the hell out of that Notre Dame upper brass. And even still, I don't feel good. I don't feel good about anything right now. Beat Houston. You have to beat Houston. And the rest right now doesn't matter. You beat Houston, and I don't see Coach Luke Fickell turning his back on his guys going into the college football playoff.
Well, that's the thing.
If they make it into the college football playoff.
This is going to be something that, I mean, everybody is going to have Luke Fickell at the top of this list, right?
Sure.
Like,
well, and not just this season, going into next year, like, it doesn't matter. Like, this is going to be an ongoing thing. It's already started.
Yeah, but I mean, it's Notre Dame. Man. It's Notre Dame.
I understand.
This is one of the two jobs, right?
That we've
Everybody's always
about.
said, Notre Dame or Ohio State, one of those two open up, be concerned. Well,
it's time to be
one
concerned.
of those two has opened up.
Potentially.
Aaron, buddy, I hope that you're correct here.
But I mean, I'm not doing this for an I told you so or anything like that, but I just, until I see that it inks on paper, we'll see.
You know, I brought out a microscope to make sure that the check mark next to Pete Thamel's name on that tweet was real, and it checked out. That's the real Pete Thamel. It is. It's not a fake tweet. It is a real tweet. You know, what it boils down to me is just the timing for the move for Kelly down to LSU is interesting, and now the timing for the opening there at Notre Dame is also interesting, because you know, you got, I mean, and Luke's name will be in the mix because he's in the mix with every single big opening in the country. You know, he was a favorite to land the Oklahoma job, and then all of a sudden, you know, Brent Venables took that, and all supposedly or yes. So, but my thought is, this is such a special season, such a year that Fickell has really just brought everything into it. And I mean, on the outside looking in, I believe everything that Luke says. I believe this, you know, the living under a rock and whatnot. And I don't know how quickly Notre Dame's going to try and look for this search. I don't know how quickly they're going to try and land somebody, because I mean, these dominoes are falling at a very rapid pace. And
well, that's the thing. Signing day is 3 weeks away. Like,
right.
Less
exactly.
than like the train's on the tracks. Like,
right. Well, the thing is, I think that Marcus Freeman can keep that train going still, and until
I mean, that's the interesting part for Notre Dame is that this recruiting class is epic for them.
Right.
One of the reasons this recruiting class, one of the main reasons this recruiting class is epic for them is Marcus Freeman.
Yeah.
Does this give them an incentive to look to keep Marcus? Because they have to be aware they could shoot themselves in the foot here. Like, this is the interesting subplot, right?
Right.
You go after Luke Fickell, Cincinnati job becomes open. Who does Cincinnati target?
Marcus.
Marcus leaves for Cincinnati. Whether those recruits follow Marcus Freeman to Cincinnati or not, guess what? They're probably not staying in Notre Dame because the relationships they built at Notre Dame would be compromised. So that is where this definitely like has a wrinkle. How willing is Notre Dame going to be to throw an elite recruiting class into the wind?
Right.
With the opportunity to keep it somewhat or mostly in place. Holy crap. This is not, I'll tell you what, Danco Transmission picked a hell of a night to start sponsoring this podcast, because this thing is going to go through the roof when it comes to listens. We're still processing it. That's the difficult part. I haven't had a chance. My phone is going, I had to turn it completely on silent because it's going bananas.
You know, you've got national people.
This isn't good.
National people saying that this is just because even Kelly came out, and all Cincinnati fans can understand that when Kelly said that he's not going to leave Notre Dame on his own, goodwill. So right before
this is what I want to say though. That's why when people were so upset with me yesterday for saying like, because Oklahoma and LSU were open, that my level of concern was at a 4. What's happening with the money in this sport right now changes everything. Like
bananas.
Like Saban was the top dog at like $7 million a year until all of this stuff started happening. If you could get Luke to 5, like that's not far away from the highest paid coach in the country, right? That's in the room. That's in the conversation.
But Saban's at like 10 or 12 now, isn't he?
Well, I was going to say, doesn't he have it in his contract that he has to make more than every other coach?
Probably. I'm not familiar with Nick Saban's contract. But I'm saying 7 was like the ceiling. The ceiling's now 11, 12. Like, what are we doing? What's happening right now?
Well, and when we were talking yesterday, like, that's more than NFL coaches are making right now. And that's
more
insane.
than Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick doesn't make $11 million a year.
You're going to see coaches leaving the NFL and getting bought out by colleges.
Mel Tucker is making Bill Belichick, Nick Saban money. What are we doing?
Wild.
What are we doing?
Inflation hits everyone, Chad.
These are the same people that 12 months ago were cutting sports because COVID had ransacked their athletic department. They just didn't have any money. We knew that was a lie. There was an opportunity for them to trim the fat on programs that they didn't want, sucking from the teat of God Almighty football.
Bingo.
But I knew crazy stuff was about to happen once you saw the money. And there was there's no gradual jump. Just boom, we're at 10. Now we're 11. Now we're at 12.
Right. And also going off that, just to kind of back up your point, is here's the extra details on Lincoln Riley's USC deal, who Mike Bone put together for him. $110 million is the contract. USC is buying both of his homes in Norman, Oklahoma.
That's reported. That's not
reported, but still,
I heard that's pretty far off.
But some of it might still be right. Yeah,
right.
USC buying both of the homes in Norman for $500,000, which is
over
the asking price,
which
which is pretty much a $1 million bonus immediately. Then they're buying a $6 million home in Los Angeles for Lincoln Riley. And then they're allowing Lincoln Riley and his family unlimited use of a private jet 24/7, 365. That's just like we're getting to buku levels right now. Like that is just crazy levels of paying. And and of course, Mike Bone goes on and he says, it was never our goal to change the landscape of college football with one of the biggest moves in the history of the game, but we did exactly that. So That's my bone.
Right. It was never your intention.
Right. That's my bone being my bone.
We didn't mean to do it, but here we are.
It's Mike Bone being Mike Bone, but still, he kind of did. I'm interested to hear exactly what LSU threw at Brian Kelly, because Brian Kelly wasn't making reportedly that much, but what Notre Dame doesn't have to submit their payroll or whatever to, because they're a private school. So I don't know exactly what he was making with bonuses and incentives and things like that. But I mean, Ed Orgeron was the second highest paid coach in America, I believe I'm right with that. So now I can only imagine what Brian Kelly was offered to leave Notre Dame, where he was having success, loads of success. And now he goes to LSU, and it's a whole SEC thing. It's just, I don't know, the whole thing is just very interesting, especially with how the entire landscape of college football is changing. And this is now just another thing. But yeah.
How the hell are you going to leave your team, though, if you make the college football playoff? The thing that everyone's trying to do.
He won't.
If it's announced as early as tomorrow.
Oh, Brian BK, yeah.
Yeah,
BK. I'm talking about Luke. Like,
I understand.
We know
I'm talking about
Kelly's
BK.
character.
Correct.
We know Brian Kelly's character.
That's just what a shit show. The other thing I want to bring up, a name that, don't be surprised if a name starts getting kicked around. I already saw it from Pro Football Focus tonight. Notre Dame could be going after Urban Meyer.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
What better way to rehab your character, redefine who you are, than going to a Catholic school where I'm sure you can't get in any type of trouble, right?
What better way for Notre Dame to really promote itself as the beacon of all things good and moral in sports by hiring a guy that was just checking some random chick's oil in a bar in Columbus.
Danco Transmissions. But
if he mentioned the BBP, he could have got 10% off of that oil check.
I'm pretty sure that one was on the house.
Yeah. He owned that establishment. That was on the house. Yeah. I own this bar, but yeah, I don't know.
Free oil checks.
I admittedly am one of the biggest optimists out there, and I just continuously tell myself that like I believe and I trust everything that Luke has said, and I still do. And a lot of that is he blocks out all the outside noise and tells all these coaching searches like, thank you, but right now we're focused on this. Right now we're focused on that. So I don't think that, like you said, Chad, if a decision is made to that front, it won't happen until midway through January. And when that's the case, like you said, does Notre Dame want to wait that long? Does, is 2 months long enough time where they fall in love with a different candidate? The whole thing is just weird. But the amount of money that's being tossed around is just insane. And if the move to the Big 12 could happen next year, or I mean, Cincinnati gets into the college football playoff this season, gets that extra money on top. Like the whole thing is just, man, the timing is just very, very bad, especially to the point where this is an extremely special team. Luke is an extremely special person. I just don't see him breaking his trust like that right before
here's
all
the
these special people.
Here's the interesting part of it, right? This team is, in large part, not going to be here next year.
Right. It's a lot of seniors, yeah.
So when you're talking about like what it does to the team, I'm sure there's like a lot of like wondering and like, looking around at each other, but 30 plus of these guys, or, a large percentage of that 30 are going to be moving on. Like their mission at hand is to beat Houston and get into the playoff. So sure, there's going to be some level of distraction this week to Notre Dame opening up. But I mean, the pulse of this team, the heartbeat of this team, has one challenge left in college, right? Like a lot of these guys, they've been here 5, 6. Feels like Freeman or Brown and Brooks and Dublanco have been here since like the Sugar Bowl.
They have almost.
So I don't get the sense that this will be a team that will let something like this filter in and be something that takes away from what we see on the field on Saturday, unless they play like crap. And then I was wrong, and I'll have to come back on here next Monday and eat crow.
Yeah, I'll be in tears.
Or engine oil, recycled engine oil. I have to eat that from the fine folks at Danco Transmission. Mention the BBP, get $10 off your next service.
Do we need to plug the BBP getting 75% off right now if you join?
I mean, yeah, it'll probably, by the time most people listen to this, it'll be tomorrow. So,
but at least until midnight on the 29th.
Until midnight tonight. Also, look up Bearcat Journal on YouTube, the Bearcat Journal Nightly Rewind. Although I think Aaron hit like, subscribe. I think Aaron might have renamed it the BCJ Nightcap.
It's perfect. It's on par for the brand.
It is. It's kind of on par for the brand. The BCJ Nightcap. I think you could come up with a pretty cool title page for that logo. You know, with the cup, with the BCJ logo on it. We have a sponsor lined up. I'll introduce tomorrow. For the BCJ.
I told you, Chad's firing on all cylinders. It's wild around here. BCJ, man.
We potentially have a 4th podcast that I'm working on in development.
We have a Facebook page we're announcing tomorrow night.
Big things are happening, Brent Young.
They are. Hop on board. What about Matt Campbell? What does that name do for you?
I mean, he's gonna, like, let's be honest. If you're hiring, who's on your list first, Luke or Matt Campbell?
Well, no, it's going to be Luke number 1, but I'm just saying Matt Campbell's available to talk to right now, when I think that Luke would kind of be the one that would say, you know, curtains shut until mid-January. So
we don't know. Like, they could lose Saturday, they could win Saturday and not make it. Like,
yeah, Saturday
is like the biggest game in program history, especially now, right? Like
times 100, yeah.
Like that, this went from all in to like all in.
I think it's kind of relative though, because I think you still go back to the Notre Dame game, because if you don't win that game, you don't even have this opportunity, right?
But if you don't win, this game could come down to what we saw in 2009 with Texas losing, or not, Nebraska not hanging on to beat Texas. Like, this is the weekend that could determine, you know, there's 2 weekends in UC sports that change the course of the athletic department.
Yeah.
That weekend in 2009 and that stupid fucking night in Nashville.
Ooh.
Because hypothetically, Mick Cronin beats Nevada, gets to a Sweet
Final
16
Four,
where they had a favorable matchup, an Elite 8 where they had a favorable matchup, maybe gets to a Final Four. Mick Cronin's still the coach of Cincinnati. Like, so
the yellow brick road was laid for sure.
Yeah, the yellow brick road was there. The yellow brick road in 2009 was there, but Cincinnati sports happened.
We are talking about
left on the clock.
About some sad things when it is happy time in Cincinnati Bearcats.
I know. But that's because what happens when it's happy time in Cincinnati?
Man, I mean, this is one of the golden ages of Cincinnati Bearcat sports, and then Saturday happened a little bit for the basketball team. You know, we'll touch on that a little bit later. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. But and then all of a sudden, now all this happens, and oh man, I mean, it'll be something to watch. Luke is a man of his word, loves Ohio. But man, they did drive a bus up to South Bend, so it's not really that far. Golly. So I don't know. We'll see how the chips fall as they may. It's a very senior laden team, so I don't think that this is going to be too much of a distraction. I mean, this is a big game against a really good Houston team this weekend, but I don't know. There's so many different ways that this could go. I'm looking at it as more of a he's not even going to entertain the conversations of it until certain things happen, until Saturday happens, and then we got to cheer on first. Let's go Baylor. Can they do it for the Bearcat fans again? Then let's go Georgia Bulldogs, because when you beat the Georgia Bulldogs, you're going to feel the Bulldog bite. And then let's go Iowa. So those are the things you got to keep cheering on, and it really sucks that we have to do that. But
well, the big concern with Baylor is they've already lost Oklahoma State earlier this season.
Yeah, hard to beat a team twice. We say it in college basketball all the time. Memphis did it to us a few years ago, but man, I don't know. I don't want to. I refuse to be sad. This is a happy time.
Alabama hasn't shown me anything. I mean, I was doing a little bit of research, for my article this week, and Alabama has managed somehow with the scheduling geniuses in Alabama,
right,
to only play 4 true away games.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because the other game or two were in neutral sites, and they lost at A&M, and they struggled at Auburn. So they struggled in 2 of their 4 away games, like true away games.
Well, same thing with Georgia is they have not traveled away from a bordering state all season. Pretty
well, they get this game in Atlanta, and we all know how well Georgia travels to Atlanta from Athens. So,
I mean, the main thing, and Georgia's in no matter what. I'm not going to dispute that. But you look at Georgia's schedule. Georgia's schedule, who have they beat? Their best win is against Clemson. Sure, SEC. They played an SEC schedule. Yes. I mean, Clemson. Are we all going to jump on board saying that Clemson is the Clemson of whatever? We could touch on this for a long time, but
3-loss Clemson that's going to be in the top 20 this week.
But man, Auburn, stay in bounds when you're trying to run the clock under 2 minutes in the fourth quarter with a lead.
Woof.
Auburn, go for 2 when you score a touchdown in the first overtime with
at
a
home
backup quarterback who has 1 foot.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
It's fine.
Not great, Bob.
And then, of course, don't even get me started on that Oklahoma State game, man. Those 2 teams look bad. That was a bad football game, but hey, you know what? Oklahoma State.
I will disagree with you only by saying Oklahoma State's defense looked fantastic.
They gave up 33 points, but yeah, no, I agree.
I mean, Oklahoma scores. We already knew that. Their defense has been suspect all season long, but I don't know their defense did impress me.
Okay, I agree.
Coming into this game, they'd only given up some crazy amount of very little touchdowns in the last 4 games. I think they had only given up 1 touchdown.
Right. Oh, well, that was the around the world in the college football landscape. Not too much going on. Not too much going on. Oh yeah, Michigan beat Ohio State. So congratulations to Mr. Harbaugh up there. And feel bad for all you Ohio State fans out there. Welcome aboard the Bearcat bandwagon. Plenty of room. Maurice Claret is driving the bus for now. But yeah, I don't know. It's we don't even have these conversations if hopefully the last trip to Greenville, North Carolina in a very long time didn't end the way the Bearcats wanted it to. That was a game that happened on Friday. And I don't know about you guys. That it feels to me like that game happened a month ago. It is just so much has happened.
We're at that point where every day is a week.
It's so much has happened. It's insane.
That's why it was a great time to start the nightly rewind, is because every day right now is a week. You can't do a weekly you got to do a nightly recap just to keep up.
Yeah.
Right.
I might have to re-record the damn thing when we get done here.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, you recorded it. You said, "Yeah,
you did it too early. You got to
all
wait
the
until
job spots are filled. I'm feeling great. Let's go into the Houston game. College football playoff on the horizon."
you're gonna have to start recording this nightly rewind or the nightcap at like 11 as you're actually having your nightcap.
Yeah, at the news, like we're the nightly news, because 7 to 8, like I recorded at like 6. We got home from dinner about 6:45. I sat straight down, jotted down a little outline of how I wanted to do it, recorded, got it posted, and then got this ready for the podcast. And as soon as Brent was logging in, you could see the look on his face as he was seeing the news.
Man, I mean, I never imagined it, because I literally I feel like once every week Marcus Freeman had to call Brian Kelly and say, hey BK, I've got another 5-star. You want to take him? And then BK, yeah, sure, bring on another 5-star. Hey, got another 5-star, BK, you want to take him? Yeah, bring him in. Another high 4-star. You want him? Yes. I don't know. But money talks. Money talks. We knew it did to Brian Kelly. We all experienced that back in the day. So
it's being reported that Notre Dame's boosters feel blindsided.
Oh wow.
That's what happens. You fucking ass. Fuck you.
Like, you did this to us. What do you mean you feel blindsided?
Well, I'm sure they'll have a big welcoming back to one of their special teams sometime down the road, and they'll let Brian Kelly walk on the field, and they'll either cheer or they'll boo him. So
or both.
Notre Dame fans, you guys take your pick. But it's more on the ECU game, because we had a moment where a player finally had his Heisman moment. We've been waiting all season for it to happen, and finally I think we can put his name into the Heisman Trophy list. That's Ryan Royer. Ryan Royer came onto the field, darted through, and made the third phase of the 3 phases of football, complementary football, blocked a punt. Ryan Royer, with enough eye black that he could share with everyone else on that punt block team. But man, good for him. Senior moment, Heisman moment. Cast your vote, Ryan Royer.
What's the guy from the NFL Hall of Fame who played defensive tackle for the Minnesota Vikings, who used to do just all the eye black?
Jared Allen.
He's the one that kind of started it.
Not Jared Allen. It was well before Jared Allen. It was back in the 90s.
Okay. Well, Jared Allen would use a lot. And so what's his face? The son of Howie Long, Chris Long, he used a lot of eye black too.
It was reminiscent of that when I saw it, but kudos to Ryan Royer for sure, man. Good to see the Bearcats get not just the field goal block, but also the punt block in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah. And I mean,
and there was 2 field goal blocks. Let's be all the way honest.
There was. I mean, that's funny. We can just say it now that they got a thumbs up from the official on their sideline saying that everyone was on sides, everything was good. And then, of course, a flag from the opposite end is an offsides on
Garbage.
Marcus Brown. And then they end up making the 44-yard field goal after it was going to be 49 yards. But still, you're starting to see that 3 phases really click into full effect, because I mean, Ryan Montgomery is a phenomenal punt returner. You've got punt block all locked in. You've got Arquan Bush, who is just a kick blocking expert. And, like Sauce Gardner said, he's not going to give away a secret. Yeah.
John Randall was the defensive tackle I was referring to.
John Randall. Very good. Pulling into your bag of tricks there, Aaron. I enjoy. It's this team is clicking. They are. Offensively, name me a better quarter than what we were seeing in that second quarter. It should have been 28 points in that second quarter.
Yeah, but you still had the first and third and fourth to an extent. Like,
yes.
I get that was as good as the offense has looked all year for 15 minutes, but
right.
The first quarter I excuse a little bit because ECU was going to come out hot. It was senior day. The place was loud and rowdy.
Right.
Like they were going to come out hot. And as soon as they get the block punt and then don't score, that gave ECU the momentum they needed to carry them through that first quarter. Right. The problem for me is that not coming out of halftime and carrying over that second quarter. Like that's where there's going to be ebb and flow. I get it. But you have to come out. You got the ball.
Yep.
Like they won the toss and took the opening kick, went 3 and out. Like everything was working in your favor and you came out in the third quarter flat. Like that can't happen if you're going to continue on to achieve big things.
Yeah. I mean, they got it near, the 50-yard line, but that interception was a little weird by Dez, kind of a rush, just kind of lobbed it up and a good interception by ECU. But then, yeah, as you mentioned, the third quarter just kind of, and I don't want to think this because I don't think it's the case, but it just feels as if at times this team knows they can beat any team on their schedule. And when they
anyone
build up,
in the country.
Yes. Yeah. And when they build up that score, I mean, that's why I think when they faced SMU, they were so locked in. And let's dominate because we finally got a team like this, and that second quarter, they burst out. They should have been up 28-0 at halftime, but it, of course that fumble inside of the 5-yard line. Sure. Maybe a field goal there at the end of the first half as well. But yeah, I don't know. I think that they kind of understand that they've got it pretty easily in control. But yet again, there in the fourth quarter, it was a chance for ECU to make it a game, for ECU to hang around and see if they can't somehow inch back in and make some sort of a crazy comeback. And then a big play happened, and that was the blocked field goal, as you mentioned, Aaron, and then a scoop and a score by none other than Mr. Sauce, Mr. Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good play. Really good play.
Big time players make big time plays in big time games.
Yeah. Well, and people have been talking about how
about the beauty of that thing, though? If you watch it, him and Bush both had the corner, and Sauce sees Bush and stops.
Yep.
And waits for Bush to block it so he can go pick it up and run it for a touchdown. Like he was just waiting patiently to scoop and score. It was beautiful.
People have been talking all season, though, that we haven't seen the speed from Sauce. Like that's been one of the things that I've seen, like even like drafted analysts.
That's the dumbest shit.
I'm just saying, I've seen draft analysts talk about we haven't seen the speed from Sauce because A, they haven't been thrown to his side very often, and B, that he's not been clocked as like one of the top fastest guys for Cincinnati this year. He was well out ahead of everyone on that play and just
he's showing fast enough.
He was just showing what he can do with open field.
Hey, hats up to ECU. They threw at him.
They did. A couple times.
He made a beautiful play there in the end zone.
They didn't do it successfully.
No.
But at least they weren't bitches about it. They're like, we're coming at you. Like,
that shouldn't surprise you, though. That's the way Holt Nailers is. Like, he is ECU.
I know. Yeah.
And then,
but
go ahead.
Every other quarterback this year has been like, "No, I'm cool, bro. We good."
Well, then hats off to Arquan Bush as well. I think he's one of the unsung heroes of the defense, and special teams. He's really saying, "Okay, I'm going to let my name be known." And sure, Tyler Snead has some good catches, but Snead's just one of those players that he's going to constantly be open. And when you have a little crease to find a player like that, then Ehlers is looking his way the entire time. That's why you saw the Darian Beavers interception as well. But then of course you got the closer in Ryan Montgomery, who's becoming kind of that fourth quarter back when they need that quote unquote style point as the time wears out, and Ryan Montgomery comes up big with that long run. But you got to talk about offensively. Alec Pierce, man, Chad, you gave him the player of the game on the bites that you posted, but man, he is just so good. It's hard to really remember just a wide receiver that big, that athletic, that fast. I mean, he should have had another touchdown on that ball that he was 10 yards past the defense. They had to adjust to and come back. Yeah.
One.
Right. But he is just phenomenal. And I mean, that we have 2 more games, hopefully 3 with Alec Pierce. 2 more games, hopefully 3 with Desmond Ridder. All these players getting invited to the Reese's Senior Bowl. It's something that is unheralded for a lot of programs. And the Bearcats are going through all of that right now. And Alec Pierce was showing out, and he had a monster gash on his arm that looked awesome. I don't know how he got that or what was going on there, but man, he looked like the Wolverine out there. But still, it was just an awesome game by Alec Pierce, and just evidence, as we always mention, how many weapons that this offense has and what makes him so special. And then the fact is, he was going up against an ECU cornerback who is touted as one of the best in the country. I think Pro Football Focus had him as like their 3rd rated cornerback in the country. And so it's awesome to see what this offense is doing. When it does click, it's clicking on all cylinders. And I don't know, I think it's and plus that Leonard Taylor play was amazing as well. So I can't say enough about how when this offense is clicking, it's really at a high level.
Lenny's such a weird cat where, I mean, he has these games where he shows you everything and leaves it all on the field. And then these other games that he's had where he just, like we saw in camp, we talked about it when all the way back in summer camp, that he had the softest hands on the team. And just sometimes you're like, how did you not catch that, Lenny? You got the softest hand. You're wide open. What do you got both hands on it? I love Lenny. Don't get me wrong, but it's almost like that tale of 2 cities. It's a tale of 2 Lennys. Like which Lenny are you today? Are you the guy with the soft hands, or are you the guy that is running before you have the ball?
Well, on Friday,
sometimes having both hands on it is a problem.
Okay.
Huh? You were both talking. I couldn't hear you.
I said sometimes having both hands on it can be a problem.
You weren't talking about football there. I got you now.
Oh no, No.
Sure.
Okay.
You'll tell me when I'm older.
Very interesting.
I'll tell you when I'm older.
Very interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I think obviously you saw Jerome Ford have some really special runs as well. And then that Desmond Ridder play where 3rd and 14 backed into their own territory, spins out of a couple of sacks or potential sacks and fires one to your boy Aaron Trey Tucker for the first down. I kind of jump started that second quarter a lot as well. So I don't know. I don't think there's much else really to take away from the ECU game. Like people are going to be concerned and be frustrated with the performance in the second half and in the first quarter as well. I mean, man, this is yet another game where I watched it the entire time and I never once felt like, oh gosh, here we go. Like I'm nervous. And that's how it's been all season. I mean, maybe for like a second during the IU game in the first quarter, like I can't really think of a time all season where I've been like, oh gosh, I'm nervous. It's weird.
What a terrible week for us to do our first YouTube video of this podcast, because we're all frantically like phones, social media,
100%.
Yeah. Back, like what a nightmare. But this is perfect BBP like form, that this is the one that goes up on YouTube first, because we're a mess of trying to get as much information as we can to make sure by the time we put this podcast up,
as it comes out,
5 hours outdated,
right? As it comes out.
Gosh.
Holy shit.
Thank you, Brian Kelly. Aye. I don't know. All right. Well, I mean, yeah, ECU victory in the books, 35-13.
Yeah, I don't have anything else. Like I'm out on it. I'm done.
Nah,
ECU.
yeah,
That happened 6 months ago.
Get out, get on that plane, come on home. I mean, hopefully never go back to Greenville. back to the Fick, as they call their
Not
stadium.
Evansville.
No. Oh, Evansville, the Purple Aces. The Purple Pirates is what they started calling them a little bit. But
I
yeah,
got called out on my article. We had to edit that.
what'd you say?
I wrote Evansville and not Greenville.
Oh wow, Evansville, North Carolina. I wonder if there's an Evansville, North
There's
Carolina.
not an Evansville, North Carolina.
I'm sure there is somewhere. Just they maybe don't have a college there.
Just
But
like
there are a lot of bills in North Carolina is very bill heavy.
maybe like
Asheville, Greenville.
the purples threw me off. That's what I'll go with.
a guy named Evan randomly established a small acre and called it his ville, and that's Evansville. So yeah, the big win. Yet again,
You think that's how Evansville got its name?
You never know.
Some
You
guy
really
named
never
Evan.
know. I mean, look at all the Columbuses out here. Anyway, so what do you think?
I love taking Brent off the rails when we're supposed to be serious. Because it just takes him a minute to get in his brain, like, how am I going to get out of this with these idiots?
I
Man, you
love
guys are great.
that someone even acknowledged Brent on our last BBP comment section, or I'm sorry, BBP comment section. That thank you, Brent, for keeping things on the rails instead of Chad and Aaron wandering aimlessly through whatever wilderness we get into.
I mean, the funny thing is, the rest of my life, I'm the one that's off the rails. So this is a good time to lock in.
Well, we experienced you off the rails like what 2-3 weeks ago, whatever that was.
That was me going on like maybe 20 minutes of sleep in a crazy weekend from the weekend before. But anyway, so a win. They move on. Houston this weekend. Initial thoughts on Houston. They've kind of been that team in the background because they weren't on the schedule initially, but kind of that team that we always expected to be the team to face in the AAC Championship. You know, Dana Holgerson, fantastic hair. Gotta love it. But aside from that,
By that, I think from the start we all expected SMU to be the team.
I
that they
thought
would
that
face
Houston
for a
was going to
second
be
time.
right there.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Nah.
Houston or SMU. Yes, those are the two. But I thought that because Houston played SMU at home.
Yeah.
And-
Since then, I've thought Houston. Since
Well, no.
they beat SMU, yes.
Right.
Coming
but when
into the season, I did not have Houston as like top of this conference. I did not.
I
Dana's done a great job.
did. Everyone's been talking about their defense and things like that. I didn't have them above SMU per se, but they were in that top 3 or 4 with UCF in there. Who Dylan Gabriel entered the transfer portal. I don't know, that kind of slipped through the cracks. So interesting developments down there for Gus. But
That makes sense. Gabriel never fit his offense.
and
He
they
almost-
did get that crazy transfer, right? The former 5-star or whatnot.
He almost
Yeah.
transferred before last season. Like that one
Yeah.
didn't really surprise me.
Right. But the way that the UCF fans really admire Mr. Dillon. But still, it's going to be a tough game. I mean, Houston, obviously, Dana Holgerson talked about it numerous times, how they don't like it being at Cincinnati. They think that he wishes it could be a neutral site game. They've got a senior laden veteran team, just like Cincinnati does. It's a chance for the Bearcats to have another signature win as they go into Decision Sunday, Selection Sunday. Gosh, college football playoff just trying to be so much like the NCAA tournament. It's insane, but still, it's.
Do they really call it Decision Sunday?
No, I don't know what they
Okay.
call it, but they call it. I mean, it's a
They
selection.
should.
It's a Selection Sunday.
Yeah.
What it is, but still.
So you asked
Big
what
chance.
our first impressions were on Houston.
Right.
And my first impression on Houston is they feel disrespected, and they should, to be quite honest with you. They
Why?
not by Cincinnati,
By the college
But they-
football playoff.
by college football. They should feel disrespected. The fact that they're still
yes, but they lost to Texas Tech. They
Yeah, and
didn't
we-
play Cincinnati.
I understand, but you want to play the game of you play your college schedule, and I get that they lost to Texas Tech at home. There is that, but it was week 1, and we all know how when you're a big program, the early losses just somehow disappear. And so I just don't understand how, especially with yes, they haven't beat anybody on their schedule that is worth really mentioning. But at the same time, they beat everybody on their schedule. If we had one loss, we would be pissed that Cincinnati had not jumped higher than 21 where they're at, I believe.
I mean, it kind of happened in 2019, didn't it? How high did they get in 2019? It wasn't very high.
Who, Cincinnati?
Going into the Memphis game, the only game they had lost was Ohio State.
What, 18?
Yeah, I mean, they weren't like
16 maybe?
No. Yeah, I mean in the college football playoff.
Oh, in the college football playoff pool, yeah. Huh.
They didn't get a ton of respect back then.
Cincinnati would still feel disrespected all the same. And I think they're probably feeling the same way. That's all I'm saying. I think it's deservedly so that they feel disrespected. And I think that they're going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder. Dana Holgerson's already started the bulletin board material all week long about how this game should be played at a neutral site and all of that. So that's been
we know why this game's not played at a neutral site, right?
Because it doesn't make sense to play it at a neutral site.
Because it's the American fucking athletic conference.
You're not going to get 100,000 people at any, or even 60 for that matter.
You're not going to get 100 people. Like, as far as casual fans go, like you'll get some from the schools, but like, what are you maxing out for an American Athletic Conference championship game? 30,000?
Where would you even play it?
Right?
It would have to be at some NFL stadium in the middle of everybody.
Nashville. You're going to play it in the Titans Stadium in Nashville, and you're going to get 25,000 people in a 70,000 seat stadium. Boy, that's going to be electric, Dana. You drunken dumbass.
I do love Nashville, though. I'll tell you that.
I hate Nashville.
Well, yes, that one memory is bad, but other than that, I've had a blast in Nashville.
Nashville is ruined for me.
You could do it. I mean, New Orleans, the aesthetics would look terrible if you had 25,000 in a 60,000 stadium because at that point you'd be asking fans to travel to not just the conference championship, but also to whatever bowl game. And in the case of Cincinnati, potentially 2 bowl games.
Look like a high school state championship game. No thanks.
The American is too widespread. Let's face it.
Yeah.
It just is. And which is why I think it's good to just reward the team that has done that. And sure, it might also give that team the benefit of the doubt, who's probably a little higher ranked in this college football playoff poll, who maybe this was some forward thinking by Mike Oresco and everybody to say, hey, if we've got a team that's positioned to make the college football playoff poll, wouldn't it just really suck if they lost in the AAC championship and that held them back from getting into it? So I'm sure maybe that was some sort of a talk that was behind closed doors as well. So you never know. Either way,
I just love Mike Oresco's continuing to beat the drum of this is a power conference. Look at the teams that we have ranked in the top 25 of the CFP.
I like his new narrative about the outgoing teams that, the American was just as good to them as they were to the American. Okay, Mike. Yeah. Sure, buddy.
Well, we love you, Mike. Games at Nippert Stadium. Bearcats have won.
Mike.
Bearcats have won. Bearcats have won the second most games in a row.
Mike, next time you come to Cincinnati, go to Danco Transmission. They'll get you hooked up. Mention the BBP.
BBP.
You'll get $10 off the BBP. You'll get $10 off your next service.
Get that oil change. But yeah, Clayton Tune, good quarterback. But Cincinnati has just really had the Cougars number. Is
Clayton Tune really a good quarterback?
I think so. Yes. I think he's a good leader. I mean,
Lorenzo McCaskill is fantastic.
Yes, he's good. I mean, obviously, he's what? Over 1,000. I'm pulling up the stats real fast. Because
he's outstanding.
Right. Yeah, he's at 844 on the season. So, I mean,
he's dealt with some injury, and he's a true freshman. So
yeah, but he runs hard. And you look at him,
he's as good a back as you'll see this season.
Yeah, he looks like a senior, and he's only a freshman. That's a big dude. I mean, Clayton Tune's over 3,000 yards passing, 26 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions. He also runs the ball a little bit.
What's the best defense they faced though, outside of Texas Tech?
I mean, I don't even know if Texas Tech has a good defense. I
Right?
don't know. You're throwing in the Navies, the Tulanes, East Carolina, the same defenses that Cincinnati faced. Oh, no. I know a really good defense they faced. UConn at UConn. That was a tough game. That was a real tough game. Gosh. How about that attendance at the UConn game? A whopping 12,000. Wow.
I just like being reminded they have a football team.
Yeah. Who knows why? But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough game. Arguably, second or third? I'd say probably second toughest game with the amount of momentum that they have. SMU came in a little reeling when they played Cincinnati. This Houston team's rattled off 11 straight wins. I mean, they're
good. Their defense is very good. Their defensive line is a concern. They're aggressive. They get after the quarterback. So I think, offensively, you're going to have to find a way to use their aggression against them.
Right.
And it's not going to be sitting in the pocket, looking to hit shots. There can be some of that. I think you're going to have to go quicker than we've seen in terms of when Des throws. I think they're going to have to try to get outside a little bit more. We've seen some of that, as we didn't see it against ECU as much, but in the couple weeks prior, we've seen them trying to work the ball on the perimeter, trying to get outside and get downhill from the outside. Their defense is legit.
Right.
Their offense, Clayton Tune's okay. He's okay. I don't think he's bad. I think he's prone to mistakes. And if you're going to throw the ball a lot on this Cincinnati defense, the one thing your quarterback can't be is prone to mistakes, right? Because you will get roasted.
Oh, maybe the third best quarterback they face this season? I mean, which is saying something, really. Either that there's not many good quarterbacks in college football, or it's just.
I just hope we get to see the defense do their damn thing against another quarterback who's trying to throw on them. Really?
Right. I think we will, hopefully. And of course, don't kick it to Marcus Jones. Just no matter what you do, Alex Bales, keep kicking it out of the end zone or play keep away, because I mean, we also saw it happen when SMU so idiotically decided to kick it to Marcus Jones with not enough time left, staring overtime in the eye. You kick it to Marcus Jones and he returns it for a touchdown. Keep it away from Marcus Jones. That's all I have to say about Marcus Jones.
I'm with you.
But yeah, I mean, they're a good team. And today they did say, is it Donovan Mutton or is it Mutin? I don't know exactly how you say it. Their leading tackler.
I think Mutton.
Right. It's spelled Mutin. So you usually would pronounce the U there. But Dana said he's going to be back, which it sounds crazy. But he said there's no way he's going to miss this game. He's kind of the big time player for them. Obviously, we'll have more coverage on Houston leading up to the game. Chad and Dave do a really good job on the BCJ pod, also kind of highlighting the opponent for that week. And then I'll of course post the storylines article as well. So we'll have Houston broken down to a T, but still it's a great opportunity. Another chance to have a second hopefully ranked win heading into Sunday. And aside from that, there's not much else you can say. This team is playing for another AAC championship. 3 straight chances. They won last year, obviously. So that's it. Football program is looking great. Where would you rather want to be other than Cincinnati, Ohio, in college football? Come on.
I do want to bring in some breaking news, if you will.
Breaking news.
Matt Fortuna from The Athletic is pretty fantastic follow for everything going on right now with Notre Dame stuff. Says this is how he was the one who mentioned that the boosters seem blindsided by all of this. Is saying that this is how this usually goes, but Brian Kelly has ghosted everyone at Notre Dame. Shocker, I know. He didn't say that part, but just spoke to one assistant who saw reports on his phone tonight as he was exiting a recruit's home. He said, the news broke when I walked out of the house, so I looked like a fucking asshole. And then he went on to retweet Pete Sampson, who's talking about that if Notre Dame has to make a move at head coach, sources indicate there'll be some momentum among decision makers at the university to elevate Marcus Freeman. So there is that.
What if Marcus going to Notre Dame actually saved the day? Like, remember the angst and the everybody got upset that Marcus would leave. What if him going to Notre Dame blocked Luke Fickell to Notre Dame?
I'm here for it. Totally here for it.
You talk about taking one for the team. That's what I'm talking about, Marcus.
Would Marcus stay there as defensive coordinator under Luke? Probably.
No, not if he had a chance to come here and be the head coach.
Oh, true. Yes, very true.
Like this goes one of two ways, right?
Yeah.
Luke goes to Notre Dame, Marcus comes home, or Marcus becomes the head coach of Notre Dame and Luke stays.
Or Matt Campbell.
It'd be really interesting to see where the
Marcus
pieces
comes
fell.
back.
It'd be really interesting to see where the pieces fell as far as the coaching staff at that point in time.
What if Marcus came back?
Yeah,
we'll talk about that if Cincinnati has a coaching opening.
If we ever have to talk about that, we'll talk about that at that point.
TEAM. Luke Fickell to the moon. Build a statue. Here we go. Big game against Houston this weekend. Obviously, all eyes on that. Nothing else going on in the college football landscape. And then we'll have the college football playoff show.
There was one other thing that we haven't mentioned is because everything seems like it was 6 months ago. Mario Eugenio committed.
Hey, Mario. How about him saying that the crowd, the student section, how locked in are they? Chanting Mario numerous times.
It was fantastic. His little brother, I talked about it last week when we talked about the game that he was in attendance for the last home game for homecoming, or senior night. I'm sorry. All the same, I guess. But it was fantastic to see his little brother who's just running after the little ball, and then to see the video emerge of him doing the ooh see, like that was fantastic. Loved it, absolutely loved it.
What did he do again? The
ooh see.
Oh, okay.
He did down the drive.
Did down the drive.
He did down the drive, but he couldn't say UC or.
Well, that's if you have a kid, and you're a UC fan, you've taught them how to do down the drive, and you've experienced
100%.
ooh see. Like you know exactly. That's why it was so adorable. Like we've all been there.
It's beautiful. It is beautiful, and I think the last
more impressive than that was the Super Mario graphic.
Oh, that was really cool.
Where he jumped and the flag goes in. It was
best video ever.
It was Cincinnati.
That was phenomenal.
Do we think UC said that to him, or I don't know. But yeah, it was definitely really awesome. And of course, the last former Michigan commit kind of turned out pretty well. Last former Michigan player turned out pretty well as well. We're talking about James Hudson and of course Lenny Taylor. So the more the merrier. He already accepted an invitation to the All-American Bowl down there in San Antonio, Texas. So that'll be something to keep an eye out on for him. That's beginning of January. So big time signing, top rated defensive player in program history ever since 247's been getting those rankings going. What's that?
Did you see what Thamel reported LSU offered BK?
What do we have?
I haven't seen that.
7 years, $100 million.
Sheesh.
Good for them.
But I wonder how many of these contracts.
That's $14 million a year.
I wonder how many of these contracts though are going to be written in the same way that Michigan State wrote their contract, in that you basically can get out with a super cheap buyout if you aren't feeling where you're going with this, right?
No. You don't understand there's two layers to buyout. Mel Tucker's contract is 100% guaranteed unless he gets fired for cause.
Okay. I missed that.
So,
or that maybe that wasn't in the report that I read, but
you don't understand. You're new to this in the media world.
It's fair.
Buyout is if somebody hires him away.
Okay.
What they have to pay to break the contract. If Michigan State breaks that contract and they don't have cause, Mel Tucker gets his $95 million.
Unless a booster for Michigan State was so kind as to offer whatever team was interested just to get him out of there.
Right?
Wouldn't that
7
be
years,
something?
7 years, $100 million for 7 years.
14.285.
It's 14 plus, yeah.
14.285.
I don't know what's after the decimal, but I know 7 goes into 100 14 times.
I did it on the calculator.
See, I guess I could have.
Right.
I could.
14.285.
I went to public school in Northern Kentucky, so I did it up here.
And you were talking about, Lincoln Riley with the 500,000 here, 500,000 there to buy out houses. Like, they didn't worry about any of that. They don't want to even deal with the real estate stuff. They're like, we'll just give you the extra money to help you take care of all of that.
You can keep that house in South Bend if you want, sir.
Also, by the way, we're not giving you a $6 million house when you come here. We'll just make up for it with extra decimals in your contract. It's fine.
We'll just give you an extra $4 million a year.
Right. An extra 4. That should take care of all of that.
It's unbelievable. The money is unbelievable, man.
14. Continue talking. I'm going to look up what Belichick is making because I want to be able to compare that correctly.
Golly. Well, interesting. So here we are. The Notre Dame job open. We touched on it at the beginning, and now we have circled all the way back to it. But
estimated 18 mil for Belichick, by the way, a year. So it's not quite NFL money, but it's damn close.
What's Belichick at? 14?
18.
Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot.
I mean, he's got 6. Count them.
Yeah. He's got one for the thumb. One for each thumb.
Convenient that Brian Kelly became the all-time wins leader and
or was he
Notre Dame this season as well?
Yeah.
Or was he only 5 and Brady's got the 6?
No, Brady's got 7.
Unbelievable. Just all of it. Anyway.
All right, let's do some basketball so we can get to this mailbag and I can figure out what the hell is going on with my life right now.
We got to touch on that basketball team now because boy, oh boy, did we hop on this BBP last week. Speaking high elation, we were on cloud 9. I think that elation continued against Arkansas in a hard-fought battle that went all the way down to the wire. A really good Arkansas team as well. And then Saturday happened, and a Monmouth team came in, and that is it's a good looking team if we're going to be completely honest with ourselves. Some former quote unquote Power 6 or Power 5 players. Wes's brother Walker didn't play too much at North Carolina, but still he was a player there for 4 seasons. And then of course you had the transfer from Seton Hall as well, who started every single game last season for the Pirates. But it was one of those games where Cincinnati had so many open looks, could not knock them down. And then the end of the game happened. It seems like these tough losses at home, especially at Fifth Third Arena against these teams that are kind of lower to mid majors, they normally happened with a crazy ending. And this one had, of course, the missed free throw by Hayden Cobell. I'm not going to put that against him at all. But then the very last play of the game, this is something that kind of drew me kind of strange, where Monmouth threw the inbounds pass, sideline inbounds, and threw it over everybody out of bounds. And the result was it wasn't touched or anything. So Cincinnati had it sideline inbound with 1 second left on the clock. And then, the clock operator, it was
what a mess that was.
It was some confusion how much time was beyond the clock.
Well, because when you inbound a ball and nobody touches it, there's no time that should have been run off the clock.
No time off the clock, right? And they had it at, of course they put it
1.
Well, they put it at 0.1 for a second. Then they had it 10 seconds. Then they put it back to 0.1. And then it was truly 1 second on the clock. That was where they settled with 1 second left on the clock, sideline inbound. And we find out later in the postgame press conference that Wes and the team was under the impression that it was 0.1 seconds on the clock. It would have still been tough to catch and get a clean shot off and knock it down. But with the shooting woes throughout the day, I could only imagine that one prayer three might have been one of the ones that fell through. But still, it was a game that Cincinnati looked like they didn't play too terribly. It looked like they were actually, playing pretty strongly throughout the game. John Newman being out, who knows how much of an effect that had it on it truly. But I don't know, just another one of those weird games where they just couldn't figure it out, and they let Monmouth come back since they had a 10-point lead in the second half. And still, Monmouth, the Hawks come back with Wes Miller's brother, Walker Miller, and they pull off the 61-59 upset. Just a really, really weird game.
I want to disagree with you entirely. I don't think they looked good throughout the entire game.
Well, no, not offensively. They missed shots. No. They missed shots, but you know what?
Quite a few.
Right, but you know what? It's not like
Monmouth slashed 46-50. Like they didn't make it difficult for them to shoot. They got beat on the boards. They didn't play well.
Right. Well, no, I'm just saying that. Okay,
you're being Mr. Optimist, and then let's be Mr. Realist here for a second. They played like a team that should have lost the game.
The main thing
Jeremiah
for me
Davenport. Every time Jeremiah Davenport shot the ball, I was concerned, especially with the ball in his hands with that last three that he took, just missing by like 3 feet. It was short about 3 feet from the rim. Mason looked off the entire game as well, right. And he's a quote unquote pure shooter. I feel like I'm more and more comfortable every game, if we are trying to talk positives, more and more comfortable every game with the minutes that Ado is getting. Ado, I'm still unsure as to how we're pronouncing his name. Because I hear coaches say Ado, and then I hear Wes say Ado, and then I hear Chad say Ado. So I'm still Abdul.
And he's still battling injuries, right? If I'm not mistaken, kind of coming back from that wrist as well.
Can we just call him Ado?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. We'll call him Ado.
Ado.
One of those two is right. It's either Ado or Ado. So in one breath, we'll just call him Ado.
Ado. I'm good with that.
It kind of flows off the tongue too. So
if you want to say anybody looked good, it looked like a game where DeJulius was kind of taking the reins when Davenport was off the entire game. He wasn't afraid to shoot the ball and create those shots. His step back is looking better and better with every game that goes by, and his just general demeanor on the court, I think, is still just a thing that continues to progress in the trending up, if you will. Same with Mike Adams-Woods. I think you could say almost those exact same things that I just said about David DeJulius. So you could say the same exact things for Mike Adams-Woods. Right. But like I said, I mean, there were just guys shooting the ball. Mason Madsen, 3 of 10 from the field, 1 of 7 from 3. Jeremiah Davenport, 2 of 10 from the field, 0 of 6 from 3. That's hard to come back from.
Odi Oguama had good minutes as well. That was touched on as well in the postgame presser. Yeah. I guess yes. They didn't play well. Yes, let's say that. But still, this was a game that they had every chance to win. So what do you? Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll finish your thought. Well, no. So it just seemed like every wide open three that they had to kind of either put the game away or put it a little bit further out of reach, just rimmed out. And so I guess what were your thoughts then? In games like that, my personal thought is stop shooting the three. A lot of people kind of think that, okay, they'll eventually fall. We'll trust ourselves. We make these shots all the time. They're eventually going to fall. Water will find its level. We heard that a lot the past 2 seasons, but hopefully never again. You mentioned all those. Yeah. 1 for 4, 1 for 6, 1 for 7, 0 for 6. At some point, you just got to stop shooting them. So what were your thoughts, though, after the game? I don't know if you listened to the presser or not, but in the post-game presser, you had, or at least in the post-game radio show anyway, you had
Wes Miller apologizing, literally apologizing to all of Bearcat Nation, to anyone listening, that he didn't have his guys ready to play. He didn't have the game plan in place. He didn't have, he said he never wants to have to do that again, but he took the onus on him and said, I wasn't ready. I wasn't the coach that I needed to be today. Chad, you're on mute. I don't know if you look like you're getting ready to spew a thought, but it was just.
No, I know.
Okay.
Ownership.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, ownership. And I think that's what true leader will do. Take ownership right away. And what a great coach would do as well is just take ownership right away, because yeah, it was a game that was just, I don't know. I don't want to compare it to like the other games of the past where these tough losses have happened to lower to mid-major teams.
Monmouth is a team that's in the tournament regularly. King Rice is an outstanding coach. They have quality.
They aren't in the tournament that much. I don't think they haven't been in it for like over 10 years, but because Iona's in there is the main thing. But yes, they
play for that. They play in that conference championship. Yeah. Like that's a team you're watching in championship week a lot. Like
they almost made it as an at-large like 6 years ago. Yeah.
If you go to Vegas,
basketball name.
If you go to Vegas during tournament week, you're either placing a bet for or against them.
Right. At some point. So like
Monmouth was the second highest team on KenPom, if you want to break it down, like outside of the the highest outside of the two teams they faced in Kansas City. So it's a tough team.
It's a good team. They didn't play well. When you don't play well, again, it's a quality team. I don't want to say like it's not a good like.
Right.
They wouldn't finish top 5 in the American or anything crazy, but look around college basketball. If you don't play well against a team that has good talent, you are prone to losing. And the thing is, as bad as they played, if they do a couple little things, they still win.
Right.
When Micah missed those 2 free throws, I was like, it's not happening. They're not getting out of this game with the win. And
under
then they
50%,
still.
Right. Under 50% from the free throw line, 4 of 28 from 3. Like, that's awful. Awful. That's not good. Like, I didn't feel good watching this game. That's awful.
Got to play better.
I mean, when you build a 10-point lead against a team like this, that you are more talented than. And, this is a team that is not deep. This is a team that has 8 players in their rotation consistently, and a team that I thought that Cincinnati was going to just try and run, get them going. Like, let's go high scoring. Let's try and, get, instead of hoisting up 28 threes. It just is. It's a lot of that freedom movement, but yeah, I mean, 9 of 20 from the free throw line. That all of our hopes of this team turning it around with their performances from the stripe over the past 5 games or 4 games or whatnot kind of get tossed to the wayside with a 9 of 20 performance. Yes, it was just one of those weird Saturday games that a 2 p.m. tip, just all of it kind of mixed together where I don't know. It's
even worse if you look at just the second half, where they were 1 of 11 from 3 and 2 of 10 from the free throw line. Like you can't do an entire second half at 9% from 3 and 20% from the free throw line. That's horrendous.
And you still had Hayden go to the free throw line with a chance to knock down 2, send it to overtime, and then anything happens. But still, I don't know. Very long season though,
It is.
And like Chad said, I
say all the things that I say negatively. I still feel good about this team. I think they're still.
I think it's a bad day.
I think they're trending up. I think absolutely they had a shit day, and Monmouth is now behind them. To your point, this was the best team out of the 2 teams that we saw in Kansas City on the KenPom list. There's some credence to that. But all of that said, let's put it behind us, move on. Wes apologized. You can't continue to do that. So he used that move at this point in time, but you can't continue to do that for shit games. So you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out quick.
Yeah, they do. So what, at Miami, Ohio this weekend this Wednesday, it's a big game. I mean, Miami, Ohio, if they didn't lose their game over the weekend, then they would be coming into this one undefeated. They dropped one to Western Illinois. So, but game's in Oxford. It's a chance if Miami of Ohio keeps winning, it's a chance for a not a signature win, but a decent win. Right now, it's on that B level, in the land that the Aaron Smith family built, Oxford, Ohio. So it should be.
Palm has Miami as a favorite.
Yeah, they've got him as actually a 1-point dog right now. It's
earlier today they were favored.
It's 70-69 is the final score, but and they give Cincy a 51% chance. So it's pretty much they're saying it's a tie game.
It's also a get right game if you're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, because then you play Bryant on Saturday, then you have a week off, and it's the first conference crosstown shootout for Wes Miller. So yeah, it's
Dave just sent me a text and asked if I had my one name hot board ready. So I got it under control. Wouldn't that be hilarious if Luke, if it did happen, Luke leaves and I just put up a hot board V1.0, Marcus Freeman, and like I don't even have to I just put a picture, I put his name, and that's the article.
By the way, Brent, you said Bryant was Saturday. Saturday would be conflicting.
Sunday
football
Sunday.
Game. It is
Sunday. Sunday at 7 p.m., which is not ideal for me.
Not ideal.
Woof.
Because I will be staying the night on Saturday night after the game, and then have to figure something out all day Sunday for a 7 p.m. Bryant tip-off.
On ESPN 3, right? Can we get that during the day? Can we get a 2:00 tip on that? 3 something?
It's not as bad as that Super Bowl that they did adjust though.
Yeah, that was I was pissed about that one.
But still, yeah. I mean, I don't know. The greatest thing about college basketball is that your season isn't decided in November. It's not anything like college football in that sense. Losses do matter, yes, but you have so much time to right the ship. And I'm still all in. I'm still high on the team. And I don't know. Maybe Newman being out was a big factor. I think that he does bring that extra something, at least a play or two.
Leadership at the very least.
Right. Some defense as well, where the leading scorer for Monmouth in that game, he's like their worst shooting player on the season, that Marcus McClary, who just couldn't miss. That would have been who John Newman would have been guarding. So, just a lot of different things that go into it.
Yep.
In the end, it's one loss in November. There's so much basketball to be played. The chance for them to really just get right back on track with their first true road game on Wednesday night against Miami. So that's the best thing about college basketball. It's right there. Put that behind you and move on. So let's see here. We already touched on Mario Eugenio. Anything basketball recruiting wise before we hop into the mailbag? I think it's kind of just still quiet. Obviously, they're going after Mr. Collier really hard. I keep seeing his highlights pop up on Twitter, and it seems like he is doing something spectacular every single weekend. So we'll obviously keep an eye out on that one. But as far as that, Aaron,
let's hit that mailbag.
I think it's time. Still,
all right.
Hey, 2 feet in, 10 toes down, all in. Wes Miller, let's go. Bearcat basketball, baby.
If you want to sponsor the BCJ mailbag, which is the hottest segment in Cincinnati sports entertainment, hit it up. My DMs are open.
All right. Do you know if there's a possibility of a CFP watch party on Sunday for fans to attend, assuming we and Georgia win, similar to the 2008 and 2009 BCS announcements? An event like this would also be the perfect time to announce Luke's contract extension.
1, I haven't heard of anything. 2, go look at Luke's last contract extension that wasn't announced officially for 6 months after it was agreed in principle. They're not announcing anything this week, I don't think. I don't get the sense that anything is to the point where like a contract extension is going to be announced.
All right.
I know that was said mostly in jest, but
as far as the CFP watch party on Sunday, nothing.
I haven't heard anything. I answered that already. Are you listening?
I only heard the Luke Fickle part. I was reading ahead on the questions to make sure I didn't do what Dave doesn't like me to do, which is read the answers to other people's questions.
Man, all I know is if Sunday, man, why? I don't even want to. Nope, knock on wood. Let's move on.
Do you expect the 5 remaining spots in the class to be filled and signed in December? Percent chances that one of the 5 remaining spots are filled by a kid rated higher than Eugenio?
No, I do not expect the 5 remaining spots to be filled in December. And considering they've never had a defensive recruit higher than Eugenio, and they've only had 4 other recruits higher than him in the entire history of the program commit to Cincinnati, I'll place the odds at carry the 1,
under,
drag the 2, 18.7% that it'll be somebody
Not
higher.
bad odds. So you're saying
Mario
that there's a chance.
Always a chance. There's always a chance.
Welcome, Marcus. Bring all those 5 stars.
I think it's been talked about at the beginning of the season, but anyway.
Look, there's a whole lot of shit happening right now. Who knows what the decommitment market's going to look like by the time we get to signing day?
Ourselves included. I think it's been talked about at the beginning of the season, but any reason we are seeing every DB play press man but Kobe. I noticed it several times against ECU that both Sauce and Bush were pressed, but then Kobe would be 6 to 7 yards off the line and is playing a bail technique.
That's just clearly something that's part of Tressel's scheme, is he wants that field corner not pressed. I mean, I'm sure it's, as is almost always the case in football, it's a numbers game. You have 3 guys pressed and they all get beat, you only have 2 safeties, right? So I'm sure it has to do with risk management. I don't love it. We still saw it's something we saw with Marcus. It was just less frequent because Marcus liked to get after it. So you saw 3 guys in press a lot more than what we're seeing with Tressel. But it's a protect yourself thing so that you don't have receivers just running wide open all over the back end of your defense.
And let's be honest, it paid off for Kobe as he's up for the Jim Thorpe Award.
He's had a great year.
The only time that I don't like it is when it's at 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, because I think teams are
the free release. Teams just take the free release.
They're starting to scheme with that. Yeah.
All right. Is Dana Holgerson's complaints about the game in Nippert more about weather impact or home field impact? Assuming the latter, considering his mullet should keep the back of his neck plenty warm, just where it had to keep the bald top warm.
Yes, Jay Freeman. Yeah,
that was a good chance to get a shot in. I like the shot. It's obviously just playing Nippert. Like it's one of the loudest, most rowdy, most difficult environments to play in American college sports. So of course they haven't lost there in 26, 27 games, whatever the number is now. Mm-hmm. That's what he's worried. That's what he's worried about. That place is going to be a zoo on Saturday afternoon.
A high of 49, not bad, but it's going to get cold quick. Low of 29.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what I like to refer to. It's what I like to refer to as the nip slip at night, where you get, Nippert during the day and then nip at night.
Someone check your Google past searches.
No, I dropped that during the PTP last week, and I got kudos for it at the basketball game.
It's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty good.
Nip slip at night. You're welcome.
Everyone loves it. Yes.
Here's a pro tip for everybody. If you have this problem, my problem is when you get the nip slip, right? My whole body is fine. My toes get freezing when the temperature drops in that stadium. So I buy hand warmers, put them in my shoes, outside of the socks, not inside the socks, because you could burn yourself.
Mhm.
Outside of the socks, they'll bunch up underneath your toes if you do it right. And then that way it keeps your toesies warm.
Cool.
People don't think of putting the hand warmers in shoes. Hand warmers in the shoes.
All right.
Aaron, what are you going to do? Just
Just a pro tip.
up in the press box.
Up in the press box until the fourth quarter, like I always do, and by then it'll be fine, and we'll be going into the press conference shortly thereafter. It'll be all right.
I believe in you.
Are you surprised by the
Should I bring him an extra pair of hand warmers just in case?
I think yes.
Probably, yeah.
Are you surprised by the lack of all conference players we have on the offensive line? Only one I see is Jeremy Cooper. This is according to the PFF article. Also, does Houston have the best O-line we're going to play against this year?
I'm not surprised because if you paid attention to PFF, the offensive line hasn't graded out really high all year.
Or last year.
And that's, yeah. I mean, well, Hudson graded out pretty
Right.
high.
Right.
But yeah, so no, I'm not overly shocked. Is Houston the best line all year?
Well, it was not Notre Dame.
I'd probably go with Tulsa. It was not Notre Dame.
Tulsa got two
Tulsa's line
NFL tackles.
Controlled the line of scrimmage. They can, and they're good in the middle too. They got size.
Mm-hmm.
They controlled the pace of that game. I'd probably go with Tulsa.
Yeah. I would agree.
A follow-up question from UC Merck is, would love a breakdown by position group of the best units we've played this year versus the upcoming opponent's position group. That's an awful lot.
Merck, come on, man. Come on.
We were always late coming into the mailbag, but to
quarterback, no. Running back, no. Notre Dame better. Wide receivers, no. All right, let's continue.
All right. Do you think Dana would be complaining if the game were in Houston?
No,
absolutely not.
No,
of course not.
And I don't think Luke would be complaining either. He might say one little side comment, but I don't think he'd be putting it out there on the airwaves.
Well, what would he say? Houston's got a great advantage playing at home. We saw what that advantage can mean when we played Tulsa at home last year.
Right, but
that would be the extent of it.
Yeah, I think he'd need to be like really asked it and get it out of him type thing.
Ed's the worst, not putting sentences together, even though he's trying to make a joke about your vehicle's car warranty. Could we win this game if Dez got hurt early and could not return? Has Evan been prepared well enough to open and execute the playbook? Which was followed up, was Ritter ready to take over the QB duties at UCLA a few years ago?
Yes.
We don't know.
I mean, wasn't the talk?
We know until it happens.
But wasn't the talk during the UCLA game that they were loving Ritter leading into that UCLA game and thinking that he could easily win the job. He was making big strides in practice and stuff. I remember back before I was working for Bearcat Journal, reading about that on
but how much
Journal.
How much was that they had no faith in Hayden Moore?
No, I agree.
Right?
I'm just saying that at that point they were ready to do it if they needed to, and they did do it pretty quickly. But as far as the other one, I think it goes back to the Luke Fickell saying 3 phases, complementary football. I think it would obviously change things up, but you would then heavily rely on your defense and your special teams.
In your run game.
In the run game, yeah, exactly.
There would be a lot of read option if they were forced to play Evan in a situation like this.
And
why even bring that into the world?
Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
Don't speak this shit into existence. Get out of here.
This has been just a whole entire BBP full of knock on woods. God damn it.
All right.
Just with one hand, not two.
Yeah.
What do you think the source of the O-line's issues during the ECU game was? We had one great quarter, then couldn't block a thing the rest of the game.
I think ECU got really aggressive.
Their defense is
and started
tough.
Bringing numbers. Yeah.
They have a fantastic efficiency rate.
And they were thumping too. Man, they were hitting hard. That was probably the one game I remember the defense kind of just bringing it.
Well,
they're
they
they're just as physical as you see.
Yeah.
They're still probably mad about last year.
Of course.
They did talk about that. Yeah.
So there's certainly some residual feelings there. With the portal getting hot, I see defensive end getting thrown around a lot as a need. Was thinking Rob Jackson would step into the role next year as the kid is fucking huge. Is he seen as a more inside guy or as a project player? And that was with 2 G's on that word.
I think he's an edge. I just think he's more. I don't think he's Majek, right? Like,
right.
You want your pass rusher to be twitchy, to be quick, to be fast. In most instances, I think, where you would probably see Rob Jackson project would be over where like Malik is, Jabari Taylor is. We've seen Jawan Briggs there with Malik hurt. I think that would probably be his future much more so than his like twitchy edge pass rusher. They're still like, they just got Mario. We've heard they're still involved with Sterling Lane, who was committed to Arizona, who's kind of that like hybrid outside linebacker, rush edge type guy. Those are the types that they're looking for. I would have to, like, if they take Sterling Lane, it would be difficult, I think, to go into the transfer portal and take another, because you've got a crap ton of D linemen in this recruiting class. So what, you're going to take 7, 8 defensive linemen in this recruiting class? I think that would be difficult, but they definitely need somebody that's going to step in from IJ next year and give them that athletic threat off the edge defensively.
And then on the roster, I obviously he's probably have a long way to go, but Jamal Williams, wasn't he turning some heads? Kind of.
Yeah, I like what I've seen from Jamal. Yeah,
that true freshman.
He's long.
Type.
He's athletic. Yeah.
Got
he
that
fits
build.
the criteria that I'm talking about.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly. Just can he make that big leap? Because obviously, and even if it's just for a couple of snaps, I mean, could he just bring that? I think maybe, but
I think we could see. I mean, they're only using 3 down linemen. We could see for only using 3, they could rotate a lot of guys through that next year, trying to find who's the guy, like who can make the impact.
And we kind of saw the jumbo pass rush package at times this season, like at the end of the Notre Dame game. Malik was out there with Jabari Taylor, and then Marcus Brown or Curtis Brooks in the middle as well. So
tackle's going to be the more interesting one. Like,
right,
Eric Phillips would seem to have the edge there. I think Dominique Perry has a bright future there, and you're going to get Dante Corleone next year.
And then Watley as well as someone that I think can be used in numerous different ways.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
cupboard is not bare. It's not bare.
Is a completely healthy and focused to perform Montgomery a better option than a 75% healthy Jerome Ford?
Probably not. And that's not to take anything away from Monty at this point, but Jerome's still, even limited, he's still really good, man. He's still getting 80, 90 yards playing limited.
If he's limited and he had that one like 30-yard run that he had where he broke like 6 tackles against ECU, that's really trying their hardest to bring the boom, then I mean, I'll take a 75% healthy forward every day of the week.
He's really good. Like, really, really good.
The next question is from a guy I went to high school with, Zebo. Aaron, discuss Prater's progression. If his throwing has improved, and if so, how much? Should some competition be brought in, or does he look like the guy? Answer this question first, and then I'll get to where he was directing his question more so at me. But I would say Prater's progression, I think he looks good. I mean, what we saw, especially during summer camp, he's got a fantastic deep ball. And I mean, I'd put it up there with Dez's deep ball. I think that where he struggles is in the intermediate passes a little bit more than maybe what we've seen of Dez this year. Should competition be brought in? Absolutely. Why you'd be, especially with the way that the transfer portal is right now, I think you'd be kind of hurting yourself if you weren't bringing competition in to press him for snaps.
Yeah, I mean, I've said like, they bring in a veteran. We'll see who. I mean, Spencer Rattler put UC in his list today. I don't have any indication yet that Spencer Rattler is like a serious name to monitor for UC, but I do think there's a chance, a pretty good chance, that you see a veteran brought in and, have him challenge Prater. And I'd agree. Like, I think Evans still is developing that middle game. And one of the only ways you really can do that is to get the feel for what it looks like against somebody else.
Right.
So, but he's having a chance to develop against,
a great defense
one of
week
the
in
best
and week
defensive-
out.
So,
And
yeah.
and man, he looks swaggy when he's on the field. Man,
Especially running the ball.
oh man, he is. I'm so excited to see. I love Desmond Ridder with all my heart, and
Absolutely.
you can read all of my past articles. I've been a Desmond Ridder stan, but man, I am very excited to see what Evan Prater will do next season as well. So that I am confident in.
All right. So the second part of this question, which I'll have to answer. I don't listen often, but you mentioned in one podcast that Coleraine stole all of our Northwest players. That wasn't true for your and my class, 2002. We beat them by several touchdowns in our first.
What's this have to do with UC?
I mean, it just gets back to something I said during the podcast. I was just going to answer it real quick. All right. So to answer the second part of your question, without reading all of it, my dad, I love him. He's been gone for several years. I was a Coleraine graduate and joked with him all the time that Coleraine would always steal Northwest players. I had no actual evidence to that, but Coleraine always seemed to be in the school district that we grew up in, the better of the two schools. And that was just kind of an ongoing joke that has just kind of become a statement of fact in my life. Whether it's true or not is kind of beyond me, but that's just kind of where we are with that. So that's the answer to your long question there, Zach. So thank you for that. How do you think Georgia will play against us this year in Indianapolis compared to the home cooking they had in Atlanta?
Georgia plays like Georgia. They line up. They try to hit you in the mouth on both sides of the ball. That's what they do.
That's what they do.
But I like what Red and Black said this year in Indianapolis.
I mean,
I will take it.
It'll be interesting to see how Georgia fares as far as ticket sales go in Indianapolis compared to Cincinnati, because we already saw how they did at Notre Dame.
I mean, the main thing that I don't like is in that scenario, it would be Cincinnati in the Cotton Bowl, right? As the 3 seed, which I don't know.
Not if they're playing in Indianapolis.
Well, Indianapolis was the championship.
The question was Indianapolis.
Well, no. I'm saying if they would meet Georgia in the national championship, which Georgia would probably be number 1 still, which means Cincinnati would have to be number 3, playing in Dallas instead of Miami. I'd much rather play in Miami.
What I would say there is Indianapolis would be a Cincinnati in that you can make that trip in the morning, right? Like you don't have to, like if you go to Dallas, if a bunch of people go to Dallas and watch the game in Dallas, they can come back and still national title trip without having to like mortgage the farm.
Right.
The trip to Indianapolis,
and you just drive back an hour, 2 hours to Cincinnati.
And it's a Monday night too, so that's
the trip to Indianapolis right now from Cincinnati is awful though. There's construction on every major highway to get Indianapolis.
It's not that bad.
It's terrible.
Moving on 5 times a month. It ain't bad.
Going into
no, you
as opposed
don't.
To do you attribute the lack of buzz regarding a new contract for Luke to the fact that Cunningham works quietly, or are we focusing all fundraising on the IPF?
other stuff going on in terms of Luke's compensation. None of that ever gets out from their side. And like I said, the last time they had agreed to the terms and we didn't hear about it finalized for 6 months. So I wouldn't look too heavy into it. It's how they operate.
This is a good next question.
How excited are you guys for Pete Thamel coming on Coffee with Cunningham after the recent coaching changes?
That'll be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I just really hope that.
Interesting. What's Pete going to say though?
I mean, don't the fans get to ask the questions? I've never attended a
kinda
Coffee with Cunningham. Yeah, it's probably very monitored.
They submit questions.
Yeah. And I'm sure Cunningham's not going to allow any of the real hard-hitting questions to get through. So
Or won't.
Yeah.
And the last question to round out the football section of the mailbag: how much Advil are you going to need after today?
My Advil comes in the form of red wine, and yeah, there will be a lot consumed.
I mean,
I'm good. Like, I live for this shit. Let's go.
I mean, I live for it too, but man, it's a little better with a little red wine. I'll tell you that much.
All right, moving on to the basketball mailbag. At this point in the season, Mason Madsen has the worst three-point percentage on the team. Do you think the constant subbing could be affecting his ability to find a rhythm? Are there any adjustments that can be made to unlock his shooting?
I think one of his problems is he takes balanced shots more than anybody else. He has missed some clean looks that he usually doesn't miss, but I think he needs to do a better job over time getting his base set and shooting square. Because when he does, he's a really good three-point shooter. I just think he's a streaky shooter. So when he sees it go in, he's a guy that can put up another 3 or 4. And when you're dealing with the small sample size of the season, like let's say he has a 5 for 7 game, all of a sudden he's the best 3-point shooter on the team.
Right.
So I 6 games in, I wouldn't look too deep into it.
I think it has nothing to do with the constant subbing. I think that's one of the pluses of this team. So I don't find that to be something that is a worry or concern. Is John Newman III really the missing ingredient in Saturday's loss beyond the 4 of 28 and 9 of 20? 2 points is a 1 possession, and he brings energy that was missing along with other intangibles.
He was definitely a major factor. As we've talked about, they're not deep. And he's a starter at the 3, and they're not deep at the 3. So having him definitely changes a lot about that game, for sure.
The guy that he would have guarded scored 18 points and is hitting shots left and right. The big reason why they came back in the second half.
Well, so, the biggest question mark on Newman this season has been his shooting as opposed to his defense. His defense has been as expected. So I'm with you on both counts. Wes has alluded for the second straight game, both losses, that Odio Guama needs to see more court time. Do you expect him to be a 20-plus minute guy moving forward?
Situational. But yeah.
I think there will be games we see him at 20-plus for sure.
But I think he loves Hayden at the 5 in crunch time. And then I think Ado, is that what we're saying? Or
Ado.
As well as just progressively getting better and better. I don't know, health wise with his wrist early in the season, and then other sorts of that. So, I mean, it's going to still be that log jam down low, especially with Victor Locken doing what he's been doing and things of that sort. So, I think the main move has to be Jeremiah Davenport to the 3 and kind of have him and Newman be that 1-2 at the 3, and then that opens the door for the 4 bigs to kind of eat up more minutes down low in the post. Because rebounding is an issue. I mean, there's no way around it. I think they out rebounded Monmouth, but still, it's a big reason why they lost that Arkansas game, and I don't know. Which part do you disagree with? The Jeremiah at the 3?
Offensively, I don't think he can play the 3.
Yeah.
I think he's best suited to play as a spot-up shooter at the 4.
Right.
And we've seen he struggles to guard both. So if his best offensive position is the 4 and he struggles to guard both, is it doing him a service to have him play the 3 that he's not as good offensively and still not, a high level option defensively? You're both sides of the floor there. I know they want to try get him up to speed at the 3, but until I see it, I haven't seen him really be a difference maker at the 3 yet.
Which I think is
I need to see it.
I think if it was a foregone conclusion, it would have already happened. It would have been implemented immediately. And so, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. So, especially with John Newman out, you would have thought that could have been the perfect chance for him to move over to that 3 role with more bigs getting in. But it is what it is. And by the way, 10 years, 150 was the final number on Kelly. Just buku.
15 per. That's insane.
What?
10 years, 150. And he's 60 years old.
Is that from Thamel?
Yeah. Dennis Dodd said coming from Pete Thamel.
Holy shit.
Why wouldn't Pete Thamel put that out?
10 might be in the middle of something.
Brian Kelly to LSU confirmed. Pete Thamel first. Hearing salary will be $15 million per year.
Chad's internet seems to be struggling mightily right now.
A lot of bandwidth.
A lot happening
really
over there.
Yeah.
It's not on my end. That's weird.
You're lagging a tiny bit.
Usually I can tell.
Let's be honest. We're all lagging. Man.
Man.
We all don't know what's going on. We're freaking out, man.
We are freaking out, man. Who do you think is in our best lineup after watching the first 7 games? Is it time to start cutting back quick subbing of players a little bit?
No.
I mean, it's game what, 8?
I think that's still a big positive of this team is that you don't have guys you don't have guys elevating at this point, unfortunately, to where you can't justify the subs.
Right.
All right. Question. Are you concerned on the slow starts it takes us to score at least 10 or more points, time left in half? This year it's been 11:29, 11:46, 16:20, 11:54, 11:49, 9:45, and 13:13. Compared to last year, it was 12:44, 14:39, 13:09, 13:11, 16:03, 13:59, 14:48. Also, during a non-COVID year, in 2019-2020, 9:25, 15:23, 15:44, 12:55, 16:50, 12:25, 14:57.
Mark.
Yes.
What the heck?
But
and Aaron,
I get what he's saying.
What do we know? What do we know about this team? What did we talk about from the start? This is going to be a team that is offensive challenged. So can we really be surprised when they do things that show that they're offensively challenged? We know. This is what we knew about this team coming in.
It's different.
Basketball is the game of runs, man. And so, yeah, sure. Everyone wants to start hot.
Run. Can't stop the run.
I mean, everyone wants to start out fast. That's definitely the number one goal for every team. But I mean, I don't know. Yes, is it something to be concerned of? Yes, but like you said, Chad, we also talk about how this team has these times where they go on that little burst and they have that chance to kind of cling on to that. And some games that might happen in the beginning. So I don't know. yes, it's a concern, but I think David DeJulius is rounding into form and gaining confidence. And who knows if he can get hot in the beginning, and then you have 1 or 2 threes, hopefully from Jeremiah, then yeah, that's a hot start. But if not, then you just got to be able to finish strong as well.
Nickname for Vic, the Czar. Thoughts followed by, I like Super Czar.
Victor will always be my nickname for him. Self-anointed Victor.
What a good throwback. I don't know. I think to be czar, you have to be the guy who's leading in something. And right now, the only thing that I think he's in competition for is highest energy guy. You're not the leading rebounder. You're not the leading scorer. You can't be the czar quite yet.
Okay. But maybe in the making.
Perhaps. I think it's something to tuck away for a rainy day.
He is rushing his way to becoming the czar.
I'm embarrassed to know you at this point.
All right.
What's right below czar?
I don't know that Putin has anybody below him.
Yeah.
Everyone is below him. Peasant is actually below czar.
Czar.
All right, that is the Bearcat basketball mailbag. Moving into the mailbag that you either love or you hate. At this point, turn it off if you don't want to hear. But moving into the Banks mailbag. Moving back to television, who from BCJ plays what role in The Office, and why is fake John Goble playing Kevin? Follow-up question and continuing with The Office theme. Assuming Aaron is framed by Brent for the Scranton Strangler murders and sent to death row, what would you have for your last meal? P.S. Fuck Caillou.
Fuck Caillou. I mean, I think you have to go with galactic fried chicken for your last meal, right?
I mean, time will tell.
Aaron, what's your answer?
For my last meal?
Yeah.
I mean, man, there's so many meals I haven't tried.
Well, you got to go with something that you love, though.
I think I'd go a nice surf and turf.
Yeah, what's your favorite meal?
I think I'd go a nice surf and turf.
From Jeff Ruby's.
I've never been to Jeff Ruby's.
Oh,
They're a little out of my price range.
From Outback Steakhouse.
I mean, that's where I've been able to eat. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Maybe what we'll do with the first month of sponsors. Maybe what we'll do with the first month of sponsorship money is I'll take you guys to Jeff Ruby's.
I've been, but I would love to go back.
Don't threaten me with a good time. We're gonna get Brett driving all the way in from Missouri or whatever state he lives in.
Missouri.
If
know
he wants
where
Jeff
I
Ruby's,
live?
yes.
Oh, Brett. I thought you said Brent. I was going to say
No,
Missouri.
Brett.
You know
Brett.
where I live.
I wasn't talking about the whole staff. I got like 20 people now. Easy.
You did this to yourself.
The sponsors are that much.
Yeah, well, I mean, we all know that the staff Christmas party is going to be catered by Dine In Hawaiian.
Can't wait.
But okay, who for who in The Office?
I think I am I as much as I want to be the big tuna, I don't think I'm the big tuna, but I think I am the guy who would be in the men's quartet.
What?
Do you watch The Office?
Yeah, but not religiously. So
I would be Ed. What's his last name's character? The guy from Hungover.
Ed Helms.
Yes, I'd be Ed Helms, 100%.
Okay.
At Holmes, yeah.
All righty.
I mean, I have to be Michael, right?
Yeah,
Like, there's no, we don't really have a choice there.
but I think that
have to
makes
be Michael
I think
Scott.
that makes
Who's-
Dave Dwight.
Oh yeah, for sure. Dave's Dwight. Yeah. Who's Jim?
I'll take Jim.
Who's Jim?
I'll
You're
take
not-
I was
Jim.
kind of pegging it. Okay, I was kind of pegging Aaron as Jim a little bit.
I mean, I wanted to be Jim, and I couldn't self-anoint myself as Jim. I think I'd be Ed Helms.
You're Andy Bernard.
Okay. Who do we make Brent? Do we make Brent Spader, James Spader?
The guy
when he came in to fill in for Michael Scott.
I think that's fantastic, actually.
Oh,
the guy who uses big words for no reason and has a pool party just because.
Yeah, like.
Yep.
I think you'd be the perfect James Spader. And I love, there's no James Spader fan for me. I love James Spader.
I think Mick would be what's the guy who always dated Kelly Kapoor but wouldn't admit to dating Kelly Kapoor? He was like an actual creator of the show.
Bad.
Ryan Howard?
Yeah.
Yes, Ryan. He would be Ryan.
Oh man.
Who else do we got to get to here? Boston. I don't know Boston well enough to give him
would Brett be Toby?
Maybe. Yeah, I could see that.
Or would he be the Cream?
Pam.
I feel like Brett would either be Toby or Creed.
I can see General as Creed. General's got some Creed to him, I think.
I don't know that I've had any interactions with him one-on-one to where I could speak to who General would be.
The funny thing is, I've known General probably definitely before Bearcat Lair, or what became Bearcat Journal, because we did stuff together at Tri-State football, and then kind of morphed into helping me with this back in the day.
Who's Todd Packer? I remember that character.
Man, that might actually be Dave.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll let you guys chime in on that one. How would you chart the BCJ staff as office?
Yeah.
Characters.
Let's hear it.
What else we got, Aaron?
The last question is, while growing up as kids, what did you guys do for fun? Were you more into video games or playing outside? Any cool stories like building cool forts, tree houses, ramps for bikes, getting in trouble doing something you were not supposed to be doing, etc.? In my neighborhood, there was a natural half pipe back in the woods, and there was plenty of trouble that we were getting into back there. As you can imagine, as kids who were riding bikes where no adults could see them because we were in the middle of the woods at a natural half pipe where you could ramp your bikes literally like 12, 15 feet in the air. It was crazy.
We used to turn everything into wiffle ball fields. Like everything. My backyard. One day she went to work and she was like, cut the grass. So I dropped the wheels all the way down to one and cut bases into her backyard.
Nice.
And then did the baseball lines, put it on 3, cut a row, put it on 4, cut a row, put it on 3, cut a row. And to say she was mad when she got home would be an understatement. We also built a baseball diamond in an empty lot in my buddy's backyard, completely cleaned out the whole vacant lot, built fences, pitching mound, the whole 9 yards. We spent 2 months building this thing. We built it, we played on it for about a month, and somebody fucking bought the lot and showed up one day, we're building a house here. And we're like, to hell you are. We just built a baseball. We're 4 months into this thing. The hell you mean you're putting a house here? So the base, the Field of Dreams got torn down. And what did we do to get in trouble? Everything. We played Aaron, you're close enough to my age. Video games were definitely a thing. We definitely spent a lot of time inside playing video games, but there was way more time spent outside on our bikes, playing basketball, playing wiffle ball, football.
Video games were a winter sport, right? Like we were outside always,
right?
And all like we're of the generation where you're hollering out the front door for your kids to come home, and that was the thing, is you needed to be in earshot of home to be able to make it home, or you knew when it got dark you were coming home.
I was
we played video games at night, like once we had to come in,
right?
And we had Madden tournaments, like we had some big time video game stuff
for sure.
We're younger, so video games were probably a little more prominent for you, right?
Not really. Well, I mean, depending on what you would define me as a kid, but I mean, as a kid, we lived in like right on the golf course, had like a lot of fun doing that. And then we also had like these fields, because I had a brother that's 1 year older than me. Well, I still have him still, but so we had a lot of mutual friends, and we would have just like
poor guy.
We would have huge just football games. And I mean, a lot of the things that I would get in trouble with would be like, if me and my brother, his name is Derek, would get in like a one-on-one basketball game, it would always just end up in a fight, like one of us punching the other or something like that sort. And then of course, same in football. We used to play this game where literally we would just kick the ball off, throw it off, and then then the main objective was to get past the other guy. He would juke me because he was a shifty quarterback growing up, and then I would just run over him. So a lot of fights. One bad time, I was playing Candyland League back in Cincinnati when I used to live there, and it was like picture day, and I was just tossing rocks in the parking lot, and I just lit up a van, the back seat of a van, and lit up the glass, went everywhere. That was a bad thing. Got in a lot of trouble for that. I don't know. Didn't really get in too many fights, but man, we were outside a lot, like you guys said. But yeah, video games. I mean, NCAA football was my livelihood in the late nights and then winters, like you said. And but yeah, outside, inside, just having a blast. A lot of fun.
I miss childhood, man. We had so much fun. Like
we had no worries, man. We were just
we had a good group of guys, like that were like we had a neighborhood group of guys that were down like at any point in time.
Yeah.
Hey, we're having a 3-on-3 basketball tournament.
Yeah.
Hey, we're playing football. Hey, we're doing like it didn't matter, man. You made 5 or 6 calls and you told them to make a couple calls to their people.
Yep.
And next thing you know, an hour later, there'd be like
11 on 11.
people, 30 people somewhere ready to go. Childhood was awesome.
Yeah. Kids don't play outside anymore. You drive around, you don't ever see kids on bikes. You don't ever see kids playing in the yard. Like it's weird if you do.
Unless they're doing the TikToks, Aaron. The TikToks.
That's not playing.
But no, it is strange to just remember because my parents weren't strict at all, so you would like get pretty doggone far away from the house on your bike, and you'd be like, okay, it's starting to get dark. I gotta figure my way home.
I just want to know how I'm supposed to grow up into get off my lawn guy when no one's ever on my lawn.
We used to like this was elementary school up until like 5th grade. There was a park right by our house, and at the bottom of the park there was a creek. And if you know where the Erlanger exit on 75 is, like where the old Erlanger cinemas used to be, right where 275 and 75 split in Northern Kentucky, there's a tunnel underneath that expressway segment. We would walk through the creek, through the tunnel, and all the way back into this like property that was owned by the church. And then like a waterfall. And it's like a 1.5 mile, 2-mile walk. And we would do that shit in the summer like 5 times a week. Like just be gone for like 5 hours. Just like, stand by me. Like, like just on our bikes, like walking.
Don't let the leeches get you though.
Right. Like walking through like the tunnel, like with the water, like socks off, pants up, shoes off, get through the tunnel, get back out. Like childhood was awesome.
It was.
Oh, by the way, we've gained like 27 members since we started recording this podcast, and the news broke that Brian Kelly took.
Let's go.
Thanks, BK. Yeah. Thanks, buddy. How about BK coming in clutch 4 hours before the end of the sale
on YouTube or on Bearcat Journal?
No, on Bearcat Journal, like
That's
your
fantastic.
subscriptions. Yeah,
let's go. Never a dull moment.
We'll see if we hit it by midnight. We are 7 members. And for the OGs, the people that have been around a long time, when we couldn't get over 500 members for like 3 years, we're 7 members from 1,700.
Let's go. To the moon, Chad.
Let's go. And congratulations to all the people that are stealing money from you over the next 12 months, only paying $26 a year for this service.
But those who are donating money to the BCJ cause would include a specific transmission company, correct?
That would include our good friends at Danco Transmission. We'll get in the ad read one more time on the inaugural show. Danco Transmission and Auto Care, family owned since 1970. In Fairfield, near Jungle Gyms, proud to support the Bearcats and the BBP. Mention the BBP for $10 off any oil change or service. Danco.
That's a wrap. That's the mailbag.
That's
good. The read. Let's get out of here, folks.
A lot of behind the keyboard reading, writing, texting, talking. So much going on.
Apologies, we're all distracted as shit.
Yeah, no, I think we did a great job, guys, as always. But you know what? This is another fantastic show. A special thanks to my good friends, partners in misery, happiness, and elation. Aaron Smith and Chad Brendel.
I thought you were going to drop the sponsor again.
and a big thank you as well to Danco Transmissions. Get your oil changed, because I'm sure you're going to be driving pedal to the metal, freaking out for the next couple of weeks. So head into Danco, make sure that you are driving pedal to the metal in style. But aside from that, another fantastic BBP presented by BearcatJournal.com.
See ya.